Okay, I'm going to start on Peites on the base towards the bottom. Taner Rabbanon. It's 6 lines from the bottom of 89b. We thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. So we're learning Hashem the base of Migdash. We're learning for Shleima, for Naftali ben Menucha Bela, and for safety of Eretz Yisrael. The hostages should be returned safely. Okay, it starts like this. Taner Rabbanon. We learned in a brisa. So what's going to happen here is we're going to get a combination of a lot of different halachas. Navi Shehidiach. We've been talking about a false prophet. We said that false prophet gets chenek. All different types of Snavi Mashlei Shama, Mashlei Nemalai. Okay, well, now we say Navi Shehidiach. This is a prophet that is leading a city to worship Avodah Zarah. Now, regularly the Madichei Ir Nidachas, back on Samach Vav, probably the city itself of the Ir Nidachas was killed by the sword. This isn't it. Samach Zayin. Maces. What did a regular maces get? A regular maces got stila. That means one person convinces another person to worship idols. What happens to Midicher Nidach? The Midicher Nidachas is also skila. That's actually Midicher Nidachas is a machlekes, Reb Shimon in the Tanakama. If it's skila or chenek. Okay, so now we have a combination. We have the Navi, which is supposed to be chenek. We have his Mediach, which is supposed to be skila. So Navi Shehidiach, we say it's beskila. Reb Shimon Omer b'chenek. Reb Shimon says it gets chenek. In general, the Medicha and Nidachas is chenek. Now we have the Navi that's telling people to telling a city to worship idols. He's going to get chenek. So according to Reb Shimon, it's more consistent, right? And according to the Tanakam, it's consistent because that's what they hold by the Medicha and Nidachas. Let's go a little further. Medicha and Nidachas, the people that convince the city, supposed to be 2 people, to worship idols. That's beskila. Reb Shimon Omer b'chenek. Let's say machlekes by the Medicha and Nidachas is by the Navi Sheidiach. So it doesn't matter who he is, even if he's a Navi. By who? This regulation is more lenient. It's more lenient for who? Which prohibition?
Compared to Speedo, according to everyone,
Panic is less, right?
So, someone could fantasize about then like there's like one that actually does it. It's like why do you need this case? Because
the person that prophesies about doing this prophet is getting chenek. The person that worships idols, what's the punishment for worshiping? Skila. Worshipping idols is skila. The one that tells him to, he didn't actually do it. He told him to do it. He gets chenek, according to Reb Shimon. According to the Tanakam, he gets skila also. Right? The mesis, if it's an individual, he also gets skila. That everyone agrees. Oh, he's saying if he prophesies. We didn't learn Navi Shehisis. That's interesting. That's a case that's left out. Okay, Navi Shehidiach Beskila, my time with the Rabbanan. The Gemara asks, so how do we know what's our source? That it's going to be skila. Asya hadacha hadacha mimesis. We're going to learn it from mesis. Mesis is when someone convinces an individual to worship idols. He seduces him to worship idols. We learn like this. One pasuk says, "Ki diber Sarah lahadichacha." That's by the prophet. By the Mesa, it says "Ki bikish lahadichacha." So the word hadacha means to push someone. Push someone. It's said by both of them, "Malahalam b'skila," just like in the context of the Mesis, it was referring to skila. Afkan b'skila also by the Navi Sheitiach. She used the same word hadacha. We're going to say that it's skila, called a gezerah shava, verbal analogy. It says this word in the same place, and so we say that the halacha from this applies to that. Reb Shimon, what does Reb Shimon say? How does he get chenek out of this? It says misaksivabei. It says by the Navi Sheitiach. It says that he gets put to death, and he doesn't have the gezerah shava. So what do I do? What it says when it says misa? Call misa murbatayra stam in alachenek. Whenever it says misa, I know what that is. It's chenek, strangulation. That's the default. Default death penalty in the Torah is strangulation. Morning. The next case. My time derabanan. We have a machlekes also by the people that convinced the city. Also, machlekes Reb Shimon and the Rabbanan, where, thank you, where the Rabbanan hold that it's skila, stoning, and Reb Shimon holds strangulation. My time the Rabbanan Kamir hadacha hadacha. They learn the same thing. Hadacha hadacha. Now we have two options where to learn it from. Could be you go back to the original. And the original one said that a mesis gets skila, and it's we're learning from the mesis. Or what we just came up with now is that there's a gezerah shava from mesis to Navi Shediach, and now we'll learn Navi Shediach to Medich and Nidachas. It says hadacha by all of them. Reb Shimon Gomer hadacha hadacha min Navi. Reb Shimon says no, I'm going to learn hadacha hadacha from the Navi. It's interesting. All of a sudden, Reb Shimon has a gezerah shava. He didn't have the Navi Shediach, a gezerah shava, but he has one for Medich and Nidachas to the Navi. The Gemara says v'ligmer mimesis. Oh. You have a gezerah shava, so go back to the mesis and say that it's skila. Why, Reb Shimon, are you saying that it's chenek and you're only learning from the Navi, and then over there you block the gezerah shava? So it's done in mesis rabim, because we're learning over here the Navi Shehidiach he's pushing the public to worship idols, and the Mediche and Nidachas, even if he's not a prophet, but he's also pushing the public to worship idols, the community. Being done in Mesis Rabbim, Mesis Yachid. But I can't learn to the individual, which is what the Rabbanan were doing. They were learning that one individual is convincing another individual to worship idols. It's skila punishment. He says, I'm not dealing with individuals. I'm dealing here with the public. In the public, the punishment is less. It's chenek. Which is interesting that the punishment gets less. Gemara says, Adarabba, done in Hedit Mehedit, done in Hedit Navi. Maybe this is Reb Shimon is so adamant that the gezerah shava needs to be equal level. It's public, private. So 1 second, but you're still learning something that's incomparable because you're learning from the Navi Shehidiach, which is a higher status of a person, to a regular person that's Midiach. That's convincing the city to worship idols. Why are you learning from a prophet? You should learn from a regular hedit, and that would be a regular mesis. Should be skila. Reb Shimon, what does he respond to this? This is a Gemara we had before. Kivan Shidiach. This is the way he's behaving. We don't have a greater, not the modern Hebrew word hedit. That's the idiot, but delete that. Even the word hediyite is in English is idiot. It's almost the same, but hediyite just means a someone that's not of any status, just a blue collar. Amr of Chisda. Chisda says, okay, we're gonna have machlekes here. Rav Chisda and Rav Hamnuna. It looks complex. It's actually just one detail that they say differently, and then then we'll have a machlekes Abai and Rava how to learn a certain brisa according to which opinion. So Rav Chisda says machlekes beiker aguf davidis kechaven b'kiya mikzas b'bitl mikzas davidis kechaven. When we talk about the Navi, what's the Navi saying? Could be he's saying that there's no problem to worship idols. You're allowed to worship idols. It's called Iker Aguf. He says you should actually go and worship idols. This is maybe this is what Hashem wants you to do this. Or it could be he's saying L'kayim mikzas, bitl mikzas l'kayim. He says at a certain time, a certain day you should, but then maybe you shouldn't. That's those are two options here. So when do we say that the Navi Shehidiyah is going to be chenek according to Reb Shimon and skila according to the Rabbanan? That's if the prophet is saying either that there's no such thing as avodah zarah, or he says that there's certain ways that you could worship avodah zarah. Now, the Rachman Amar, because the Torah says, the Eibishter says, min haderech, from the way. It's the pasuk says, ki diber Sarah lahadichacha min haderech, because he spoke words that lead you astray, to push you off the path. No, it says off the path. Min haderech means even if it's only part of the path. It means he's still allowing you. Some days he says on Mondays don't worship avodah zarah, only on Tuesdays or something, or whatever his. But if he says that any other mitzvah in the Torah doesn't apply, then Divrei Hakol b'chenek. The Rav Chisda says that everyone would agree, even the Rabbanon would say that such a Navi gets chenek. Like we said before, that a Navi checker is chenek, right? It's only by avodah zarah that that the Tana Kama holds that it's skila. Let's say he doesn't tell you that the entire mitzvah it doesn't exist. He just says that sometimes you don't have to do this mitzvah. So then Divrei Hakol is pater, and everyone says that he's pater because the pasuk says, "Asher yazid ledaber davar b'shmi," that will willingly speak matters in my name, which over here which Hashem never said. So it's only if it's a davar shalem, only if it's a complete matter. Over here he said just today, don't do this. So then he's going to be pati. He doesn't get the death penalty for this. Masav Rav Hamnuna. So basically we have three categories. Let's go over Rav Chisda's opinion. Three categories. When it comes to avodah zarah, we have Iker Aguf or Bittul Mitzas or Makai Mitzas. Whether it's uprooting the entire thing or it's uprooting only partial. And over there, what's the punishment for him? It's Machlekes Tanakam and Reb Shimon, if it's skila or chenek. When it comes to Iker Aguf of Shar Mitzvahs, then everyone agrees that it's chenek. When it comes to Bittul Mitzas of Shar Mitzvahs, of other mitzvahs, not avodah zarah, everyone says pater. Now, those are the three categories. Masav Rav Hamnuna asks the question. It says Lechespa. Pasuk says that to push you off the path that Hashem your God has commanded you to walk on. It says Leches, to walk. Zoom, it's just say that's if he's telling you not to do a mitzvah. Hashem told you to walk on this path, which means to do the mitzvah. The Navi is telling you don't do the mitzvah, don't put on tefillin or something. But on it, Zoom mitzvah slices say. He's telling you to violate a negative, to violate. The Torah says don't do, and he's telling you to do. The Gemara asks like this: if you say that this is referring to avodas kechavim, only idol worship, avodas kechavim, how could you say that there's a positive command by avodas kechavim that the prophet is telling you not to fulfill? By idolatry, the Torah can only tell you do not. Can't tell you what yes to do. There's no yes by idolatry. There's no positive command. Tirgamar of Chisda, but it answers this when he touched them. It says that you should break the idol. That's the positive command. Now, if he's telling you don't break it.
In all these cases, it's just that you're trying to do this.
About the prophet, that's what's he prophesying? Saying that not to keep these mitzvahs.
It's the same punishment whether he gets people to do it or not.
Right. Problem with him is he's saying this. Hashem spoke to me, and this is what he told me. Okay. Rav Hamnuna Amar. Rav Hamnuna has one slight variation from Rav Chisda. Instead of having in the category 1 of the machlekes that it's referring to avodah zarah, Rav Hamnuna is going to have one more detail in that category, which is Iker Aguf by Shar Mitzvahs. Yeah, so he's going to have only 2 categories instead of 3 categories. We said Iker Aguf, if you uproot an entire mitzvah, we said that everyone agrees it's chenek. He doesn't have that category of everyone agrees. He puts it into the machlekes category. That just like by avodah zarah, there's a machlekes, a navi sheidiach, right? It's machlekes Reb Shimon, and the Tanakama, if it's skila or chenek, Tanakama says skila, Shimon says chenek. Also by Iker Aguf of Shar Mitzvahs, if you uproot an entire mitzvah, it's also a machlekes. And then he jumps to kiyam mitzvahs. Kiyam miktzas, if to fulfill partial mitzvah and to negate and to nullify a partial mitzvah, that he holds his pater just like Rav Chisda. So if machlekes by Iker Aguf, machlekes between Reb Shimon and that Tanakama is if he uproots bein ba'avodas kechavim bein b'shar mitzvahs. This is what he's adding in. Even if it's other mitzvahs, not just avodas kechavim, not just idolatry. Say it's also machlekes. The key mitzvahs, big mitzvahs, avodas kechavim is also part of this. To fulfill or to nullify by avodah zarah is also the machlekes. The Rachman Amar min haderech afilu miktzas derech, because we know when the Torah says push off the way, we know that it means even part of the way. Aval kiyam mitzvahs, bittul mitzvahs, the b'shar mitzvahs, the rekal pater. When it comes to other mitzvahs, if he doesn't tell you that to uproot the whole thing, then he's going to be pater.
Yeah. Just like don't clean for Pesach, just don't clean the ceiling.
Right. Exactly. Don't move the refrigerator.
Bush lama, sir.
Thank you. And now we're gonna have a brisa.
Results from that, real.
The odds. Wishing someone to refuah shlema from a cold. You get your rating up, you know. your brachas rating.
You know all the jokes about it.
He writes a will. This brisa is not going to fit perfectly with any of the opinions. So Abai and Rav are going to come in here, and Abai is going to try to fix the brisa or explain the brisa according to Rav Chisda. Rav is going to try to explain the brisa according to Rav Huna, but there's very slight difference between Rav Chisda and Rav Hamnuna. But that detail is going to be played out in this. So Tana Rabbana was taught in a brisa. If a prophet prophesies to uproot a matter of the Torah, so he's chayev. The problem with saying chayev is that you didn't tell me what he's chayev for. What chayev what? That's what chayev chanek, which would be the opinion of Reb Shimon. Actually, he's Oiker Davar Min HaTorah, according to Rav Chizda, he's Oiker Aguf. We're not talking about Avodah Zarah, talking about other mitzvahs. According to Rav Chizda, Chayev would be Chenek. According to Rav Hamnuna, Chayev is a machlekes. If it's Chenek or Skila, like Reb Shimon. When you say Chayev, I don't know where this takes me. L'kayim mitzvahs a little bit about the mitzvahs. Reb Shimon pater. To fulfill part and to negate part of a mitzvah, Reb Shimon says pater. Problem with saying Reb Shimon pater is that what about the Rabbanan? Everyone holds pater, both according to Rav Chizda and according to Rav Hamnuna. Everyone says pater, not just Reb Shimon. When you say Reb Shimon, it makes it look like there's a machlekes. Even if he says worship it today and tomorrow don't worship it, everyone says chayev. Now that is a bittul miktas of avodah zarah, and whenever it says chayev, that both Rav Chizda and Rav Hamnuna would agree that is a machlekes, but is chayev. Is he chayev skila according to Tanakama, or chenek according to Shimon? Well, Abaya Savalak Rav Chizda matas to Rav Chizda. Abaya follows Rav Chizda's view, so he explains the brayso according to Rav Chizda. Rabba Savalak Rav Hamnuna. Rabba follows Rav Hamnuna's view matas like Rav Hamnuna, and he explains the brayso according to Rav Hamnuna. Abaya Savalak Rav Chizda matas to Rav Chizda. Let's follow Rav Chizda's view the way Abaya explains it. When it says chayev over there, you know what it means chayev? It means chenek. L'kayim, it's just a bit of mixas Reb Shimon pater v'adin l'Rabbanan. It says the Reb Shimon says pater, but the same thing would also apply to the Rabbanan. Rabbanan would also say pater. When it comes to Avodah Zarah, where it says chayev, if it's bittul miktas, it says today serve it, tomorrow don't. So that it says chayev, that it depends to which opinion. Doesn't get into the details, but there's a machlekes there. If it's chayev skila, stoning, or chayev chenek, strangulation. Okay, Rava Savalak Rav Hamnuna Matasak Rav Hamnuna. Rava does this a little different than Abaya. He follows Rav Hamnuna, and he says like this. Again, he's explaining the brayso. If he's uprooting everything now, Rava says that Misnavi Lakadav Minatera is now including Avodah Zarah as well. He holds Oiker Aguf, and by Oiker Aguf, to uproot it entirely, whether it's Avodah Zarah or Shar Mitzvahs, is the same for Rav Hamnuna. So he says the first part of the brayso, Lakadav Minatera, is referring to Avodah Zarah as well. In Rav Chizda, that wasn't so. Rav Chizda dropped the whole thing of Avodah Zarah. From the Oiker Aguf by Avodah Zarah is not in the brayso according to Rav Chizda. According to Rav Hamnuna, Oiker Aguf is in the by Avodah Zarah is in the brayso. And when it says chayev, it's not referring to chenek the way Rav Chizda learned it. It's referring to mark this and mark this, like it's a machlekes. Machlekes to Tanakam and Reb Shimon if it's skila or chenek. You really need a chart for this. This is Makaya mixas, a bit of mixas b'shar mitzvahs. Okay, now the brayso is now dropping Avodah Zarah. It's only talking about shar mitzvahs. Reb Shimon pater v'adin l'Rabbanan. Reb Shimon says pater, and the Rabbanan would agree to that. Avodah skechavim, let's say bittul mixas by Avodah skechavim. So this is going to be a machlekes according to everyone. That's a machlekes. Okay. Those different ways of explaining the brayso, and they figure it out according to their opinions. Rabavo says, if a real prophet tells you to violate something in the Torah, shmale, you should listen to him. Except if it's Avodah Zarah, even if he stops the sun, don't listen to him. tells you to worship idols, because the whole idea of prophecy is to increase your belief in Hashem. And here he's telling you to worship idols doesn't make sense. It's a self contradictory. It's impossible. Tanya, starting in the Brisa. Basically, the Torah goes to the end of the mind of Avodah Zarah, and it says like this: Torah gave it power. Torah tells you that even if the prophet does a sign, he stops the sun, you still can't listen to him. The way Rabbi Glili is saying it is that the prophets of Avodah Zarah, or the prophets that are telling a person to worship Avodah Zarah, can possibly do these miracles, and nevertheless, the Torah says don't listen to it. Tanya, Rabbi Akiva, son of Rabbi Akiva says, Chas v'shalom shakadosh baruch hu ma'amid chama l'ad v'ritzaynei. Hashem would never do this. To give power to the over Ritzaynei, to the people that are prophets for Avodah Zarah. He started off as a true prophet, then and then he became a false prophet. So how did he manage to do to do the miracles? Because he used to be a true prophet, and then he switched. So if he tells you now to do Avodah Zarah, even though he did miracles before, how was he able to do miracles if he's a false prophet? Because when he did the miracles, he was a true prophet. Today he switched. Today he's not a true prophet. Yeah,
why don't you just say that he just makes it look like he's stopping the sun, like like a magic trick?
I think it wants to tell you that even if he really does, not just. Yeah. Even if he did an absolute miracle, still don't listen to him. Even if he's able to stop the sun. But it comes along Rabbi Akiva and says, obviously, if he's an idolater, he's not going to be able to stop the sun. But it's talking about when was he stopping the sun? When he was a real Navi. Now he switched. He went sour. I think he was in the lower market. Yeah. He used to be a real prophet, but there he was already a false prophet, saying something that wasn't told to him, right?
I thought that he was able to identify the false prophet because he was a prophet at once.
No, that was someone else. That was Kanan. Tzidkei ben Kanana. No, this Hanani ben Azar was the one that was in the lower market, while Yirmiyah, the prophet, was in the higher market, and he tried to make a Kal V'chaimer, and it didn't actually come out. Okay. Zaymemei Bas Kayin. We said that if there's false witnesses, conspiring witnesses about a man together with a betrothed or married daughter of a Kohen that committed adultery, so the daughter of the Kohen gets, the woman gets streifa, she gets burnt. The man said it depends, a skila or, well, in this case, we're going to say that it's chenek. Well, so what happens now? Now we have conspiring witnesses against them. So the conspiring witness, Mishnah says, they get the punishment of the man because they get whatever they wanted to do to the other person. So, but they wanted to do two things: streifa and chenek. You can't do both. So, how do you know that they only give them the punishment of the what they wanted to do to the man, not to the woman? Amar Rav Acha Brid Ravika, the Tanya Rav Yesi Yomer. Rav Yesi says, "Mata Malay Wasi Samay Kasha Zam Laslachiv. Shekalam Zam Shabbatezam Meim Bayaleim Gates Behem." All the conspiring witnesses of the Torah, they get the same punishment as the person that they're testifying about. Baskayin Ibestreifa Vein Bayala Bestreifa. Zem in any day Im Lai Hukshu Im La Hukshu. So when it comes to the conspiring witnesses, I don't know if I should compare it to the woman or I should compare it to the man. So says he wants to do to his brother, do to his brother, but not to his sister, which means that they're going to get the lesser punishment. Okay. Kol Yisrael Yeshlam. This is a very interesting parak. Actually, the parak really starts with Ve'elu she'en lem chelek le'olam haba, because the last prakim are Elohein Anechnakim, Hanisrafim, all the different death penalties, and after that we say Elu she'en lem chelek le'olam haba. The following don't have a share in the world to come, but not to start with something bad, that they start with something good. Start with something.
Isn't it apropos that Sefer ships?
Yeah. So all of Israel has a share in the world to come. Now the world to come is machlekes. Of course, what the world to come means doesn't mean Elam Shamas, doesn't mean like Gan Eden, which is the way the Rambam learns. The Rambam in the last few days was about this. And or does it mean Elam like the Ramban, which means Neshamas Guf, and the bodies and souls are together. So all of Israel has a share in the world to come. Shnemar, Amich Kulam Tzadikim Le'el Yeshuaretz. Your nation are all righteous. Forever they will inherit the earth. Neitzer Matai, an offshoot of my planting. Maisi Yadil Lespar, work of my hands in which I take pride. Okay. The following don't have a share in the world to come. See Rashi. Rashi says originally we said the Arba Misas, now we're going to say those that don't. Now there's a problem over here because first he said all do. Now it says in the following do not. And you have all do and the following do not. I think the Rebbe has talks on this. Someone that says that there's no resuscitation of the dead from the Torah. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that it exists, but it's not in the Torah. The Torah doesn't say it. Which is, I think that's the way Rashi says. Even though he admits to it, he admits that there's resuscitation of the dead. He just says that the Torah doesn't talk about it. This is considered a person that does not have a share in the world to come. It's a clear raya to the Ramban, because share in the world to come must mean, as we'll see in the Gemara, that he denies Tchias HaMesim. He doesn't get Tchias HaMesim. What's the share in the world to come? It's Tchias HaMesim. How does the Rambam learn this? I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, you wouldn't have to spell it out. You could just say Ein Olam Haba Min Torah.
Just go ask the Rambam.
Yeah, but the Mishnah says Ein Tchias HaMesim in Torah, and he's not going to get Gan Eden. Right? According to the Rambam, but the problem is the Gemara is going to say that if you don't believe in it, then you don't.
Okay.
So just go ask the Rambam. Tell us what he says.
Okay. Well, no, it's only until these people do tshuva, right? Once they do tshuva, then they do get.
Yeah. Tshuva helps for everything.
Amen.
Someone says the Torah is not from heaven. That's like the critics, the Apikairis. We'll see what Apikairis is. Someone that doesn't give respect to the rabbis. Rabbi Kiva Aimer, even someone that reads foreign books, which is the Gemara is going to say it's books of possibly of the Apocrypha, those books. Alecha Shalamaka, someone that whispers incantations on a wound. He says, he makes the Torah into incantations. Abishal says, someone that pronounces the name according to the way it's written, with its letters. Now the Gemara said, the Mishnah says, there are 3 kings and 4 regular people in the Torah that do not have a share in the world to come. It's like an old newspaper, getting old gossip. Okay, tell me who they are. Let's Shleishim Malachim, who are the three kings? Yeravam, Achav, and Menashe. These are people that pushed idolatry. For Yehuda Eimer, Menashe is the chelik olam haba. Menashe has a share in the world to come. Shnemar v'yispalei love. At the end, he davened v'yishmat chinasei v'yishivu Yerushalayim l'malchusei, and Yerushalayim returned to his kingdom. Amrloi l'malchusei yeshiva v'lei l'chai olam haba yeshiva. He was returned to his kingdom, but he wasn't returned to the world to come. There's a machlekes about Menashe. Abba Hadyatis, who are the four regular people, the common people? Bilam, Doyeg, Echitefel, Gechazi, they don't have a share in the world to come. Okay. Gemara says, V'kol kach lama. Why are we so strict on the person that says there's no Tchias HaMesim in the Torah? Tana, the Brisa taught. Who kafir b'Tchias HaMesim? He denies Tchias HaMesim. V'kach le'yolei chelik b'Tchias HaMesim. So therefore he doesn't have a part in Tchias HaMesim. Because the way of Hashem is measure for measure. Shmuel ben Nachmani says the name of Rabbi Yenis, and that's a very common pair there. How do we know that all the ways of Hashem are Mida Keneged Mida? Shnemar says, Vayemer Elisha. This is when there was a great famine, and the price of wheat went up. He says, Shimu Dvar Hashem. Elisha said, listen to the word of Hashem. Case Machar Sa Silas B'Shekel. An entire Sa is going to cost 1 shekel. Sayim Sayim B'Shekel. Shashimer. And 2 Sa of barley be a shekel. 1 Sa of wheat, 2 Sa of barley. Shashimer at the gates of Shimer. They were a battle with Shimer. Ksiv Vayana Shalish Asher Melech Nishan Al Yadai as Ish Alikim, the officer that the officer of the king relied on him. That says to the man of God, says to Elisha, to the prophet. Vayomer, he says, "Hine Hashem is Hashem going to make windows from heaven to drop the grain down so that this could happen? It's impossible for this to happen." Vayomer, so Elisha says, you'll see it, but you won't be able to enjoy it. It says, and that's what happened. They stampeded. He got trampled on he was standing by the gate when the people were rushing out to get the food from the camp, whatever. So this is when there were some the people went into the enemy camp. It was quiet.
They like ran.
And the whole enemy camp ran away. So anyway, this fellow, he saw what was going on. He died before he was able to enjoy it. Gemara said, okay, so what happened? He said that it's not going to happen. He said, okay, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for you. So Mida Keneged Mida. Gemara asks, maybe it was the curse of Elisha that caused it, and maybe it's not. How do you know? You have to remove all the variables here to be able to determine that it's Mida Keneged Mida. This is not very scientific. It could be that Elisha cursed him. Amarav Yehuda Amarav Kilas Chacham Afil Al Chinam Liba. A curse of a sage comes even for nothing.
I don't understand how this is Mida Keneged Mida.
He said that he doesn't believe it. So we said, okay, so then you won't get it. That's the Mida Keneged Mida.
But I mean,
back.
not believing in something, a punishment for not believing in something is not getting like that. Like when I think of Mida Keneged Mida, you sin with your eyes, so you get punished by your eyes. You sin with your faith, so then you.
Right. This is also a type of Mida Keneged Mida, that if there's something that you sin, that your person then doesn't accept something, so when it actually happens, he doesn't get that.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. I don't know.
The art scroll has
Yeah,
tell me again. The number one, that's the whole thing of Daniel, if you want to look into it.
What is that in the note?
Yeah, in the note, the number one on 90B1.
Yeah,
Alman.
1 second.
Hey, doing?
Baruch Hashem.
He was punished by witnessing the abundance, yet being denied the opportunity to partake of it, being trampled. The very stampede caused by the abundance he had declared impossible. I was adding in that little detail. Interesting. Okay. So maybe it was because of the curse of Elisha. It says, let him just say that he was trampled and he died. My bashar, why does it have to add in the pasuk trampled in the gate? This shar, it has to do with it's because of the mouth. That's just a shar.
I just guessed.
Oh, I didn't even think of like that. Is that what they say over there? The gate means his mouth?
I just said it.
What do they say? I just thought iskeshar meant that it had to do with the price of the grain. On account of the gate, having scoffed at what the prophet foretold happened at the gate of Shomron. Sense of market price. Yitzi has a different shot.
Yeah.
That's not in the commentary, not in the article. He's claiming al iske shar, the matters of the gate means because of his own mouth.
I should be quiet. I'm revealing too much.
I thought you were a hidden Tzaddik.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe I said it. How are we going to start to diminish?
So, I'm Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan says, how do we know? How do we know that the resuscitation of the dead is from the Torah? Says Trumas Hashem la'ar nakayin, and you will give the truma of Hashem. Talking about when they come into the land, they'll give it to Aaron nakayin. Aaron leilam kayim. What do you mean? Aaron passed away in the desert. How are you going to give him truma? It's going to tell us that Aaron will come back with the resuscitation of the dead, and we're going to give him the truma. Rabbi Shmuel Tana. This is not associated with our question, but the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel, they taught that la Aaron ki Aaron, and it says le Aaron. You're going to give it to Aaron. What it means is you have to give it to someone like Aaron. Ma Aaron chavar banav chaverim. Just like Aaron is he keeps his food pure, so too when you're going to give the truma, you have to give it to a chaver, to someone that keeps the truma pure, not to someone else. On the side of my Gemara, it says, "Mikanam r'shei nois matana matnas kayin or matana lekayin amaretz." It means you can't give it to a kayin that's an amaretz. Whoa, harsh. Okay, Amar Shum Bar Nachmani Amar Rabbi Yonis. And now it goes on. Shum Bar Nachmani says, "How do you know this?" Well, we just said before that you can't give it to a kain that's amaretz. Amaretz could mean someone that doesn't keep his food pure. Shnemar v'yirmalam Yerushalayim lasis manas l'kainim manas akainim v'halavim. To give the portion of the kainim and the levim man yachzaku b'teres Hashem, so that they should strengthen the yachzaku. They should hold steady to the Torah of Hashem. It means only someone that fulfills the Torah of Hashem will get the portion. Okay, so we got a little sidetracked over here regarding who to give the truma to, but our point that we were saying before was that we're going to give it to Aaron and when he comes back from the dead. Amar Rav Acha bar Ada Amar Rav Yehuda. Anyone that gives his truma to kayin that's an amar, it's as if he gave it to a lion. Okay. Just like a lion, Ma'ari Safik Deris Vaichal, Safik Ena Deris Vaichal. By a lion, it's unclear what he's going to do with it. Is he going to just devour the whole thing right now? Or is he going to take it into his what do you call the lion's thing?
Den.
Den. He's going to take it into his den, and he's going to wait till later, until it spoils and all of that, and then he'll eat it later. Afkain Amar, it's also a Kain Amar. We don't know what he's going to do either. He's going to make it spoil. Is he going to, or he's going to eat it betara? Causes death to the person that he gives it to. Die because they profaned it. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Tanaf Mesio Avei Nashma puts on him a sin of a guilt sin. Remember, when they eat their holies. Okay, so sidetracked from what we were talking about. Tanya.
I have a second opinion. For a Yitzish, or is the mouth.
Yeah.
Because he denied in Shar Hashamayim.
Oh, the Shar Hashamayim.
Not just brief-faced, Dr. Stein.
Somebody says, how do you know that the resuscitation of the dead comes from the Torah? There's a second source we had. The first source we had was Aaron. Second source is Shnemer V'gam HaKemoisias precedes Amlasis Lahem Eretz Canaan. And I've established my covenant with them to give to them the land of Canaan. Who's the them? The Avis, the patriarchs. Lachem Le'nem, it doesn't say to you. It says to them, El Lahem. It must mean that the Avis are going to come back and enjoy the land of Israel. Okay, let's leave it over here. Woo. What are we gonna do? What's today? Thursday? Want to learn tonight? I think we should learn tonight. I think we should learn tonight. Yeah. The pages are very, very long. There's
Yeah, they're so
the amount of words.
We have 9.